Of course, it's the 70th anniversary. People can do math, so it's a perfect opportunity for Japan to release its 70th Godzilla movie. The anniversary, right?
I mean, it's been many decades since Godzilla was dropped. I've watched a lot of Godzilla films, and I was wrong. I thought the original film had been nominated for an Oscar. I was wrong. This is apparently the first Godzilla film to be nominated for an Oscar, and so we can celebrate a lot more than that too.
Of course, special effects. But of course, when you celebrate the 70th anniversary and you have a new Godzilla movie out, you have to go back to the authentic black and white. Also.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Godzilla -1 as well as the second release, which is in black and white also.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoFilmReviews.com.
All right, I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast. Thanks for finding us. Thanks for watching, loyal fans. Thank you for continuing to support the show. We do have a Patreon. Check that out for some great content, great deals, and an opportunity to tell us what movies we could review on future episodes. Of course, a shout out to you as well. Kyle and I are members of the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance. Check that webpage for critics' reviews as well as ours. And go ahead, do us a solid. Hit the like and subscribe button for us. It's a little thing you can do. It's a big thing for us. And talking about a big thing, of course we could talk about Godzilla.
All right, set in post-WW2 Japan, Shikishima is a kamikaze pilot who abandoned his responsibility and is treated with vitriol upon returning home. After some time passes, the ravaged country is put in further jeopardy by a creature called Godzilla, who mysteriously appears to cause chaos and destruction.
I'll just give you a little snippet. I just nominated this film in our Minnesota Film Critics Alliance for Best Music Score. I love the music score. I also really do, after second rewatch, really love the editing. It is a smooth, sensational editing. Those are, as of course, visual effects as well. I don't know what you want to say about if you did any nominations or review that way.
Gosh, I don't have my papers in front of me. I know I didn't give it to visual effects because there are a couple of shots where I didn't think they were as strong as other people did. Okay. And I know, the film should be given a lot of credit for being a $15 million movie that looks more expensive than most $100 million movies.
Right. But I think, going back, music hits the right notes right when it needs to be. And the music is hokey when it needs to be and melodramatic. That music is fascinating. It doesn't come into about an hour in.
Yeah, it's very light leading up to the finale film. But one of the things that makes that so good is that it had given me the ability to forget about the Godzilla theme, so that when it started coming in near 75% way through the movie, I started to remember, are they gonna do the theme? Like, oh my god! It just kind of it gave me that longing that I had for it. That when it finally showed up again, I was just enthralled back into it again.
All right, this is for me the best Godzilla movie I have seen. That's me.
I don't know that I can say it, but I'd need to probably kind of sit on it for a while. I feel like I've got Cult of the New because I really enjoyed the film so much.
Oh, I love it.
And I always love when Godzilla fights other monsters. So that part of me is always going to love things like, I'm a huge defender of Godzilla versus Ghidorah, which a lot of people think is one of the worst Godzilla films, but
it did everybody said it lifted from Spielberg from Jaws and Close Encounters. No, Spielberg lifted Kurosawa. This is a very authentic Japanese, kind of long way to go with it. You get your action out, you really sell all the action, get your story, and then you come back with your action again, and that you got your rising action, then climax and stuff like that.
Well, I can see what director Takashi Yamazaki was going for when he references Spielberg, though, because there is a little bit of Jaws.
A little bit of Jurassic Park Jaws in the beginning,
Yeah, there's definitely that hidden element of the creature. The idea that we're only going to try and focus on camera usage where you are on the ground, you are a place where a camera could sit. I really appreciate that quite a bit. Yamazaki's a guy who's done a lot of anime style stuff and a lot of live action stuff. Okay. He worked on the Godzilla ride, and he also actually did a version of Godzilla for his other film. Was it called Always Sunny on 3rd Street, where he actually had the film open with a dream sequence featuring Godzilla. So it's kind of been part of his thing for a long time.
That came out, my notes, I'm checking out 2005. I've never heard about it. I'm now really interested to see this movie. Music is by Naoki Sato. Please get it right. I really enjoyed it. I really think the emphasis, you take the music out of it, it's not it's gonna hit the right. It's not gonna hit the right notes. I think the music sets the right pacing. I love the editing. It is a crafty editing, shots, sequences, all balance out. And of course, they're not going to nominate Best Editing for a Godzilla movie. You're just not going to do it. But
well,
you get the right.
It's a tough year for editing. There's a lot of flashy editing going on right now, and that's the problem. Is that editing?
There's one little flashy instance, and that's right when he gets to Tokyo. And it had to be flashy.
Mm-hmm.
But right, there's a lot of set the camera down, and you get what I'm getting upset with, like the Gareth Edwards Godzilla movies or the King of Monsters is. Every time I see the battle or see Godzilla, there's something in the way that blocks me. I want to see the movie. I want to see the monster eventually. I get to see him.
Yeah, that's my biggest frustration with Gareth Edwards' this film, is along with, I think, just having some of the weakest characters in the franchise, which is known for some weak characters. This is one case where this film does have the best, or at least very close to the best, human characters in the film. This is a movie where if you remove Godzilla, the drama still works. And you can't say that about most of the Godzilla films. At least nothing from the Showa era, which I've watched many times over. Oh. There's just missing that element of a human story, and that's where I think,
especially in a boat, was perfect.
Well, it's a good idea because again, it sets up a good set piece while also giving us characters in a confined space. You can see a lot of the Miyazaki that's being taken out of this film as well. The idea of kind of like the post-war and the grief that's part of it is very much part of like Miyazaki. When you look at films like The Boy and the Heron, when you look at films like Grave of the Fireflies, there's elements of that kind of throughout Miyazaki's career, and I think that's where Takashi Yamazaki was able to get the character piece that worked well and then add Godzilla to it, because Godzilla's not really in the movie that much.
No, he's in there the right amount of time. Not so much emphasis, not so much bombastic, but everybody... It's almost like the greatest character. Everybody talks about him before you see him.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh my God, there he is. We know he's coming, right? But then the new feature of the atomic ray or the blast that comes out of him. I was like, how are you going to do something new like that? And perfect.
I think it's executed nicely because we've seen elements of like the heat ray before and the spines before. We've seen all that kind of stuff.
But it looks like
before.
It's painful for him.
Yeah.
It just looks like it's very painful for him.
It looks like something you don't want to do very often. Like you don't like, it's like, I could raise my voice, but I'm going to get hoarse. And I think that's the case of he's taking a lot of the elements we've seen before in Godzilla and he's adding a little bit of flavor to them. I like that they go back to 1946, I believe it is, to start the film.
Perfect timing. I just like it that he's a fighter pilot. I do like the theme of the story, you don't have to sacrifice, which is a blending of the kamikaze pilots and is he going to do it?
Yeah.
And you don't have to do it. You don't have to end your... We talk about it like in writing. We have to kill your babies and all this stuff. And I love that they flipped it against us.
Yeah. Well, especially because Yamazaki as a director has been criticized before for being very pro-Japan, pro-country, like not being able to kind of test what his country pushes him to do. Yeah. And this film kind of takes a lot of what Japan had been doing during that World War II time period and flips it and says, you know what, maybe this guy is killing himself over the idea that he failed. What if he didn't fail? What if he came home, which is what a lot of people couldn't do? And I think that's a pretty powerful thing, especially to see it from a director who's been criticized for saying the opposite.
Yeah, I love all the characters in it, from the kid, the captain, the science guy. I loved him when he came in. Did you know that he was this smart? No, I had no idea. Right? Yeah. I do like the one little flashy shot of the smoke rising from the blast, and you have Godzilla, and it's kind of an awkward shot, almost could be made a poster, and it's the one big flashy shot, and they got it, and it's better than any scene of any Gareth Edwards Godzilla movie. It just works. It's always cascading carnage falling down, the thunder and lightning. I loved it.
Well, this movie feels like Gareth Edwards' film, and I don't want to keep crapping on the guy because
I love
it feels like that opening portion with Bryan Cranston, like if that had been the movie, because I feel like that's the part of the movie where I'm most interested, and then when Bryan Cranston exits that Godzilla film, I don't care anymore. And that's kind of the problem with it, is that it's such a combination of things here. You've got, like you mentioned, the music, which was the musician for it, Sato, did do Dragon Ball Superhero for you Dragon Ball fans. He did the music for that. Okay. A great soundtrack to that anime. And you've just got this element of, we're not going to make it about the atomic bomb this time around because we're setting it kind of post-war. I like the idea that they said that Japan had basically been reduced to 0 because of the war, and now this is one step further back. This is -1, and that's because we're adding another horrible thing to the mix. I really appreciate the fact that it's about things that aren't what we've seen in so many Godzilla films, because he's always been a nuclear war metaphor, and this is kind of something a little bit different.
Looks great in black and white.
Did you prefer the black and white version or the color version?
There's some times where I really liked the black and white version, and there were some times I wish we'd gone back to color a little bit.
Yeah, because I was watching...
The ocean scenes were kind of like, God, I wish we'd go back to color a little bit. But
yeah, I felt like the color popped really nicely in some of the sequence, especially the scenes where they're all, that big finale scene where they're all out in the water, I think worked a bit better in color. I will say this, when I watched it in black and white, I had more problems with the CGI than when I watched it in color. And I know that they actually went through this shot for shot and color corrected the black and white version, which is what you should do. Because when I want to watch a black and white cut of a movie I don't have, I have to manually do it, and it never looks as good. It's smart that they did that, but I think it highlighted some of the CG problems I had and make them more noticeable, especially in that opening part of the film where he attacks the little small island. I could just, I know he's not real, but I could tell that he wasn't actively there with the characters, which is not something I had in the color version of the film. So I personally believe the color version is the superior one.
All right. I'm definitely going to buy this double disc and have both the black and white and the color version for this. And I've never bought any Godzilla. I'm not a huge fan of this kind of genre. I understand he's a marker, but this movie makes me want to buy a copy.
Well, as someone who has all the other Godzilla films, I'll probably have to add this one because I've got a problem.
This is my favorite. All right. What do you think of our comments? Do you agree with me or agree with Kyle? What do you keep the conversation going? What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, and what do you want to see in the next Godzilla film? Because really, the last 5 or 6 have been reboots. I kind of want to see them follow up.
Now we have from the other alternate universe. We have another one coming.
Right? Godzilla fans are eating well.
Yeah. So.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't step on anyone as you leave the viewing area, and we'll see you next time.